So this is where we are at the moment. That is the current doors with the old panels on that are locked in with these blocks. Originally I did make some new ones of these. Looking at the state of the doors, they look like they need a good old respray and a filler and sand and all that business. So I think it might actually be easier to put these door cards on that covers this half and keep this bottom black half. So it will go on these sections and just cover it up white, and it will match the walls hopefully, and also the side panel with the lines on. And then I might actually make a section for this as well at some point, a section for this that covers this up and also put the curtain rail in, so you won't see the actual rail. It'll should be hidden with the fascia that I'll make for that. So let's see how these back ones get on now then. These are what we've got currently. Obviously they're warped and whatever else. This is just what was on it when I bought it as a panel van. And the idea was I was going to just make new ones of these, but where they've screwed them in, I'm going to have all the holes, unless I fill them, sand them, paint them. You know, I'm still going to have the holes of where these blocks were. And also, as you can see, there's quite a lot of markings on the door, a few dents and things like that. You know, quite a denty bit there and a few scratches and whatever. Now my dad spray painted the bottoms of these because they were horrendous, absolutely horrendous. When I say horrendous, I mean worse than this. They were really, really bad. I mean, you imagine it being a works van, they just bundled everything in and inevitably things hit the bottom of the door. So he sprayed those. If I can find a clip, I'll put it in now. Scratched. All down the bottom.
I don't think you forget what.
Let's have a look at these, Dad, what you've rubbed down. Right, it's getting rubbed down.
I ain't going out there, Lou.
No, I'm just looking at all the doors. There's a big bit up there. That's a denty bit up there. So he sprayed those and they look much better than they were, but obviously these bits, which we've still got, are not looking great. Now the reason he didn't spray these as well is because he sort of, in terms of misting in the paintwork, he could lose it in certain edges, you know, like in certain places along where there are little dips and things, so it won't obviously look like somebody's taken a spray paint can and just whacked it on. Anyway, so what I'm trying to do is make new door cards that will cover the top section of the door, because I quite like the bottom black bit. So just to cover the top in the same style of this, so to router a piece of 5mm ply and bend it to this. Now I'm making a template out of card at the moment, which is what this is. The thing is with these doors on the Transit MK8, they're not the same size. If you measure them, this door on the left on the driver's side is slightly skinnier than this one, so you can't just use the same template unfortunately to do both. Anyway, but one of the issues that I'm looking at the moment is, I don't know if you can see this, the door on the Transit, it goes up but it bends in like this, and then it swoops in like this. You can sort of see the angle that it bends in. It sort of bends in around the top here and comes out. You can sort of see with that line how it bends. So what I'm hoping is with a 5mm ply, if you can see on this edge here, it's extremely bowed. It's very, very arced, but the 5mm ply manages to swoop to that shape, which is really nice. It's a really good feature of the 5mm. So I'm hoping on these back door cards where these doors, I mean this section's not too bad, but once you get up to the top it really does sort of bend out and swoop in like an arc in the door. and it's quite an aggressive arc. Like this part here is very aggressive, it sort of really comes out and then bows in. So I'm hoping that the 5mm ply is going to be able to bend to that and not look too bad. But yeah, you're arced all along the bottom here, and it's fairly straightish on that, but like I said, it sort of swoops out across this bit. So I just hope that the 5mm ply is able to adapt to that shape, because it is quite aggressive in quite a small space. You know, it's not like a long swooping arch, it's a very short area with a big swoop in it. So yeah, and the other thing that I'm thinking is running the lines vertically on the board, and that is for two reasons. One, because if I was to run them horizontally, it's if these two panels don't match up exactly, it's going to be really apparent, because you're going to have lines that are slightly offset, and it's going to be one of those things that's really going to annoy you. So what I've decided to do is actually run the lines in the panels vertically, and I think the second reason that might work is because I've got the vertical lines on the roof, and it will just look hopefully like a little bit of a continuation of that theme. I think if they was just to be two big white panels on the doors, you know, just white like these walls, I think it could look too much. It will look like a big square box. I think by putting the lines in, just by giving it a little bit of detail, should hopefully lift that up a little bit. So I've made the second template for the other side of the door, and I'm going to make a template from wood. So that we can make the final template from our 3mm ply. So this is 5, I'm going to make one from 3 as well, but cut it out of the wood first because it's a lot easier. So, marking out the door cards, what I want roughly is round about the same width roof panel to sort of mark out the vertical lines on this back door card. So these are 9 centimeters wide, which roughly works out about 8 stripes. And I'm simply going to use a level to mark it out, and then I'm going to router these door cards. Right, so this is them now scribed. I've just lined them up. Now what I've done, just to give you a little tip, this is the way I've done it anyway, is when I was marking out the width, I used the same reference point so to mark all the way along, just because this edge, I've cut these edges, they're not going to be exactly straight, they've been cut with a jigsaw. So by using the same reference point, at least I'm using the same 9mm all the way across. Anyway, so that is the cards. I'm just lining them up to have a visual look to see, do they look sort of straight? They look fairly straight, so hopefully, you know, they're going to look that way when I put them up. I'm using this centre line as the straight edge, just because they obviously arc around, and these bits are even slightly flared as well. They're not straight, even though they look sort of straightish to the eye. So I'm going to get on and start the old router business now. So this is the rig, just using this as the straight edge. I'm going to clamp it down and then use this to make this. Now this is a little test run that I've done. This is our panel, so let's get on to that. So this is where we are now. Both boards have been routed and painted. I've used the same paint that I've used on the cabinets. It's the water-based one, but it's really hard wearing. It's a really good paint. It's been absolutely fantastic in the van. So I've decided to paint that because it dries a lot quicker than the solvent-based. Now this is the other panel. Both of these have got this on. I'm just showing you, that is the front side, this is the reverse. Now, as you know, I swapped out the 5mm ply for a 3mm ply, which means this is a lot thinner. So what I've done is added the offcuts from my pine cladding on the ceiling to reinforce the back, because this area, which is where that sort of recess is in the back door, is going to sort of be filled up with insulation and then the Reflectix to make a vapour barrier. But I want to reinforce the rear of these cards because they're only 3mm. I've added this, which these are, I think they're 11mm thick, so that I can screw stuff into these panels and that they can be usable. Because the front, what I'm hoping to do is put some like coat hooks and things like that, so when the back doors are open I could run a line across between 2 coat hooks, which could be like a little washing line. I also want to be able to attach the rear wheel for my mountain bike, so that one of the panels will be a mountain bike front wheel carrier and the other one will have a hook that I can hoist the bike up on. It can raise the front because it fits just nicely across the back of the 2 cabinets by the back doors. So in effect these will become usable pieces of the van rather than just decorative. So there we are with both panels painted and routed. That's what the front side's going to look like once they're in place. And then what I'll do is do the same as what I've done before on the side sliding door, which is to use those white screw caps that go all the way around. So if I ever need to remove these and redo them, or whatever I might need doing, these can be removed and taken off. But yeah, it should look really smart and smarten that area up. So now it's just a case of getting the panels out and trying to line them up and get them straight and finishing off the job and getting them done. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. So I'm using these small self-drilling screws. Remember, we've only got a 3mm ply now, so that should be plenty to go through the 3mm and into the van, but not too long. So I'm using these small little self-drilling screws and then these cap covers to cover the whole thing. And I'm going to pre-drill pilot holes first. So this is the like 3M squishy tape that I've bought from Screwfix, which is sort of foamy-ish. If you can sort of see, it's slightly insulated, and I'm hoping what that's going to do, or what it has done for the side door, is just provide a layer of just a little bit of a layer of a cushion to stop it vibrating against the back panel, back doors. pleased with how these have turned out. The insulation behind as well has had an extra additional effect, which is a little bit of a layer of sound deadening. Now I'll open the door and you'll hear the road noise coming in. Hopefully you can hear that on the mic. But you've got all that noise coming in, and then when you shut the door you just get that extra, like when you get in a nice car. So that's really nice. I've got not only have I got an extra layer of sound deadening, but it's also the insulation as well, so that's really good. A little unexpected side positive there. But I think this sort of routed effect, which carries on the theme from the side door that I've done, and obviously the slats in the ceiling, it just feels a lot more complete up this end now. I mean, that end always sort of looked a little bit out of place. It still looked like the work van that it was. And this has just sort of brought it all together a little bit more, so I'm really happy with the finishing effect. Like I mentioned, I used the 3mm ply on this in the end, and that was because if you remember these corners that I told you about, which were very aggressive, you know, the angle was very sharp in a short confined amount of space, and so getting the 5mm to curve and go into that was just a little bit too much, so I downed the size to the 3mm, and as you remember I reinforced it behind. The 3mm is still not flexible enough to go into that corner. I could push it, but I think potentially it could crack the wood. It could be too much stress because, like I said, it's a very sharp angle in a short amount of space, and so I don't want to overpressure it. I think it should be fine. I mean, I've put the you know, the foamy tape behind. There's no rattles. I've been about in the van. There's no rattles up this end. That's completely fine. Obviously the wood is sealed both sides, it's varnished on the back, it's painted on the front, so the wood's protected. You've got the vapour barrier from the metal on the van, so there's nothing getting in that way. The only thing really would be if you was to have these back doors open and it was to rain, water could get in there. But I say water could get in there, water would run down behind the wood, but it would just run out the other end. It's not really going to do anything. But it would still do the same whether that was there anyway, so there's no real point in me over stressing that wood. The two options would be, one, leave it as it is, which is what I have decided to do, or the other option would be to pack it out and bring that angle further out so that it's sealed. But you know what, it's not rattling, it's not moving, you can't see it because it's sort of hidden, you know, these pieces go all the way to the top, so for me it's completely fine. But if you have got the Mark 8 Transit, be aware those angles are very steep, and if you've done it in a different way, I'd be interested to see how you do it. But yeah, I'm really pleased with the end result. So I suppose all that's left for me to say is, if you haven't yet checked out the Let Us Live website, go to www.letuslive.co.uk. There's loads of stuff on there. If you're into your adventure, your motorcycling, there's plenty of stuff on there. It's all inspired by motorcycles and adventure. So take a look at the website. If you use Tony Reviews in a checkout, you get a small little discount, so that's another little bonus. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it's given you some insight in how to do it if you're thinking about how to tackle the job. Making the cardboard templates was a real help. What I did when I actually made them was made this one first, which was the smaller one, cut out my wooden template, and then added on some additional pieces of cardboard to make the second one, because it's almost there, it's just slightly wider. So that's one technique that I use. When it came to hanging the doors, you didn't really get to see that, but what I did is I did it in the same sort of way that I did the windows, and that was to add some gaffer tape to these panels and loop them over the back doors so that I could position it and then get my first couple of screws in just to hang it in the right place, because obviously you've got all of these little things to get around, and the things, you know, it can get quite tricky if you're doing it on your own, which I was. So that's the technique that I used, which was to use the tape loops like the same as if you're hanging windows. I just want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you to all those people that do watch the videos. I really do enjoy seeing your comments, some of them quite funny. I know that I've got banter with a few people on there that like to sort of regularly watch my videos and make a comment, so thank you to all those people that do engage and watch those videos. You know, it's encouraging to sort of think that other people are finding them interesting. So if you haven't yet subscribed, you can do so by clicking a little button below. There's a little bell icon as well, which you can click that, and that will make sure that you're updated when I next release a video. So all that's left for me to say is safe riding, safe driving, happy adventures, and I'll see you all in the next one.